Language development. Do newborns communicate? Absolutely. However, they do not communicate with the use of language. Instead, they communicate their thoughts and needs with body posture, being relaxed or still, gestures, cries, and facial expressions. A person who spends adequate time with an infant can learn which cries indicate pain and which ones indicate hunger, discomfort, or frustration, as well as translate their vocalizations, movements, gestures, and facial expressions. Stages of language development. Intentional vocalizations. Cooing and taking turns. Infants begin to vocalize and repeat vocalizations within the first couple months of life. That gurgling musical vocalization called cooing can serve as a source of entertainment to an infant who has been laid down for a nap or seated in a carrier on a car ride. Cooing serves as practice for vocalization, as well as the infant hearing the sound of his or her own voice and trying to repeat sounds that are entertaining. Infants also begin to learn the pace and pause of conversation as they alternate their vocalization with that of someone else, and then take their turn again when the other person's vocalization has stopped. Cooing initially involves making vowel sounds. Later, consonants are added to vocalizations, such as na 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 na. Babbling and gesturing. At about 4 to 6 months of age, infants begin making even more elaborate vocalizations that include the sounds required for any language. Guttural sounds, clicks, consonants, and vowel sounds stand ready to equip the child with the ability to repeat whatever sounds are characteristic of the language heard. Eventually, these sounds will no longer be used as the infant grows more accustomed to a particular language. Deaf babies also use gestures to communicate wants, reactions, and feelings. Because gesturing seems to be easier than vocalization for some toddlers, sign language is sometimes taught to enhance one's ability to communicate by making use of the ease of gesturing. The rhythm and pattern of language is used when deaf babies sign, just as it is when hearing babies babble. Understanding. At around 10 months of age, the infant can understand more than he or she can say. You may have experienced this phenomenon as well if you have ever tried to learn a second language. You may have been able to follow a conversation more easily than to contribute to it. Holophrastic speech. Children begin to use their first words at about 12 or 13 months of age, and may use partial words to convey thoughts at even younger ages. These one-word expressions are referred to as holophrastic speech. For example, the child may say "Jew" for the word juice, and use this sound when referring to a bottle. The listener must interpret the meaning of the holophrase, and when this is someone who has spent time with the child, interpretation is not too difficult. They know that Jew means juice, which means the baby wants some milk. But someone who has not been around the child will have trouble knowing what is meant. Imagine the parent who, to a friend, exclaims, "Ezra's talking all the time now." The friend hears only "Judaga," which the parent explains means, "I want some milk when I go with Daddy." Underextension. A child who learns that a word stands for an object may initially think that the word can be used for only that particular object. Only the family's Irish setter is a doggy. This is referred to as underextension. More often, however, a child may think that a label applies to all objects that are similar to the original object. In overextension, all animals become doggies, for example. First words and cultural influences. First words, if the child is using English, tend to be nouns. The child labels objects such as a cup or a ball. In a verb-friendly language such as Chinese, however, children may learn more verbs. This may also be due to the different emphasis given to objects based on culture. Chinese children may be taught to notice action and relationships between objects, while children from the United States may be taught to name an object and its qualities, color, texture, size, etc. These differences can be seen when comparing interpretations of art by older students from China and the United States. Vocabulary growth spurt. 1-year-olds typically have a vocabulary of about 50 words, but by the time they become toddlers, they have a vocabulary of about 200 words and begin putting those words together in telegraphic speech. I like to think of it now as text message speech because texting is more common and similar in that text messages typically only include the minimum amount of words to convey the message. 2-word sentences and telegraphic speech. Words are soon combined, and 18-month-old toddlers can express themselves further by using expressions such as baby bye-bye or doggy pretty. Words needed to convey messages are used, but the articles and other parts of speech necessary for grammatical correctness are not yet used. These expressions sound like a telegraph, or perhaps a better analogy today would be that they read like a text message, where unnecessary words are not used. Give baby ball is used rather than give the baby the ball, or a text message of send money now rather than dear mother, I really need some money to take care of my expenses.